Alright everyone, this is about to be fast and weird, so just hang on. Bad news, I need a new job and my desktop is out of commission. I need a new job because things are expensive and I've been working at this restaurant ever since leaving my last job, which was committing fraud. And my desktop's power button just stopped working. It's been kind of on the edge of being inoperable for a while now, being held together literally with duct tape. So now it just decided to go, and I can't turn the thing on, and I'd love to build a new computer using some of the parts from this old one, namely my freaking hard drives, but to do that I need to get a new job. Now if you can believe it, there's a silver lining to all of this. My laptop still works, and I've always been a firm believer in backing everything up ever since I lost my first stream game back in the summer of 2008. And I've learned a lot since then, and you know what? A lot has happened since the last devlog, and I'm ready to get back to making this game, so let's get into it. Whoa, now look at that. The player can move and shoot now, yeah. Before, player was a little more stationary, which, was a decision, but like all my friends told me, it was a bad one. So you can move and sling them spells now at the same time. Spell slinging is now its own state, so I'm going to implement spot dodging as an action you can do while in the state and give it a little more movement for players that like that spell slinging wizard archetype. Outside of working on range combat, I want to make melee combat feel better, so I added input buffering. Now I don't know why I didn't start with this, but game dev means constant iteration, right? So yeah, certain inputs are held for a limited amount of time and certain states poll for specific inputs to manage when they should move to another state, and it all works beautifully. No more is the player going to drop inputs in a combo, unless, they want to. No judging. Most people won't know what it feels like without it, but it feels sick. And now there was once a version of the game that just didn't have it. And in terms of, player-related animation stuff, I finally created all the prototype male animations necessary. I'm going to iterate on these as need be. Some animations will be shared between male and female presenting body types though, including the new death animation. Also, death is implemented. Right now, it's using Unity's basic UI elements to restart the game or quit, but I spent a little bit extra time making a Cinemachine camera system that kind of circles the player on death. I mean, check it out, I think it looks cool. Alright, so I created the first element in the game, fire. Elements in this game will have an effect on the game world, so fire will burn certain enemy types and game objects and propagate through the environment. Someone once said, it's kind of like Far Cry 2, and yeah, it's kind of like Far Cry 2. Yeah, and after creating the fire propagation and damage systems, I implemented the functionality into my fireball, and I created a new sword aptly titled the Fire Sword. So now you can run around the environment and just burn that sucker down, and you know what? It's pretty freaking hilarious. And you know what? Since I was having so much fun running around, burning the test area down, I decided I also need an actual place to burn down and maybe a way to manage the deck to add even more cards to burn down more stuff even faster. So I created a very basic world creation algorithm. Now essentially, it works by starting with a layout, created in a grid style format. This layout is then populated with flora, buildings, a corruption heart, and more on that later, and finally the NPCs that roam the environment. There's a lot of work left to do in terms of building a more believable environment, but the bones are there. And now I can work on marrying my art direction with my world generation algorithms. I've had a hub world forever, but now I've started to populate with elements including a deck management station. Right now it can only add or remove cards from the deck, but I plan to have it also able to use the currency you get from the world to permanently unlock the cards that you found. Maybe even excess cards can be used, but I'll design that out later. Oh yeah, and I added a currency system. My prices are kind of borked in the current build, so to compensate, every hit on an NPC gives some amount of currency. I might actually keep this system, because I think it kind of gives more reason for the player to explore the environment. Right now, it's kind of like Risk of Rain 1 or 2, and you can kind of beeline it straight to the exit, and I don't think that I want to change that too much. However, in those games, your incentive to stay is that you can farm for better items, because enemies are going to be substantially stronger as time passes, and I think I'm going to borrow this mechanic for my game. So yeah, the more enemies you defeat, the more you'll be able to afford those extravagant prices for new cards. Oh, and about that corruption heart, well, that's the exit. You beat it up, a portal spawns, and you just interact with the portal to go to the next area. Y'all. Listen, I made a freaking fire sword. And right now, that's the name. But if you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave them below. Alright, you know how we do. It needs an Aether price. It costs 20 Aether to use, but listen, it has a whopping 150 durability. You can use this throughout a nice chunk of your runs. Well, maybe not your whole run, but definitely the level that you're on. It adds a bit to your base damage. It used to be 1, but now I think it's about 4. It does a little bit of fire damage. It used to be 1 extra fire damage, but now I think it does 3. And 10 fire damage in a short amount of time, and an entity is burning, so that's cool. You know, we got stuff burning. Whew. Now that's a lot, considering I can only do about 2 hours a day, maybe 6 max. I feel like I've really made a lot of progress, and the project is growing by leaps and bounds. I honestly have a lot of the gameplay loop up and running. I want to take some time to turn Biome 1 into a more fully featured demo, so I'll be sprucing up the town and combat zones next. And I also want to add a shop zone and a boss room. Along with menus and settings, that pretty much makes for a full-featured demo. So I guess you can expect the final loop to look something like hub world to town to combat room repeated 3 to 6 times to a safe zone with shops and everything where you can exit back to the hub or go into the boss room. Rinse and repeat. I figure the trick is to make these individual pieces interesting enough to hold a player's attention over many hours. And if I can land that, well, I've got a good game. Oh, and one final thing about devlogs, since my desktop is kind of dead for the moment and I'm not worried about production value for these things. I never have been. You know, I love y'all, but I'm more of a game dev than a YouTuber, you know what I mean? And I mean, thank y'all for hanging with me. But these devlogs are going to get a lot more bare bones. And on the flip side, you know, I like doing this YouTube thing, so go ahead, like and subscribe. I'll go ahead and be submitting essentially double the amount of devlogs. I'm going to do 1 a month, but they're going to be super quick like this. Maybe even faster, just to show off this progress. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Thank you again for watching. I gotta go back to making the game even cooler. Alright, bye-bye.